This isn't good. So for the Republicans that do have some kind of sense of wanting to preserve the Constitution, the rights there within, the constitutional protections, so on and so forth, and then the Democrats, hopefully, between those two types of people in the House and the Senate and public office judges. Hopefully there is hope in that this will remain only a 4-year term, which...
Where's the Constitution? White House says website will bring it back soon. Washington, the President Donald Trump's team took over the White House website this week and made quick work of taking down web pages that featured the country's founding documents and espoused the views of the previous administration. A silhouette of Trump and a bold-faced "America is back" message appeared on the homepage. New links to presidential statements and remarks appeared along with the text of a mountain of newly signed executive orders. But what was missing from the revamped White House website was nearly as noticeable to frequent visitors: pages explaining the Constitution and Bill of Rights, promoting tourism, equality, internships, and information about the former American president of both political parties. Bio pages for former U.S. presidents, including Republican stalwarts Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan, turned up error messages along with those of Democrats Jimmy Carter, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton. Visitors to a Spanish language version of the website also received a 404 error that told them the page could not be found. The White House indicated the errors were unintended and temporary. Quote, "It's day 2. We are in the process of developing, editing, and tweaking the White House website as part of this ongoing work. Some of the archived content on the website went dormant. We are committed to reloading that content in a short timeline," said Principal White House Deputy Press Secretary Harrison Fields. The administration asked for patience as it builds out the new White House website. Quote, "We are committed to bringing back online the Spanish translation section of the website," Fields said. When Trump entered the White House in 2017, his team took down pages about LGBTQ plus rights and climate change as it proverbially cleaned house.
Welcome back, everyone. In this one, I wanted to talk about this weird thing with speech. So I realize in the past that a lot of right-wing people have talked about censorship on social media platforms, a lot of which was relegated to the user terms of service agreement according to those specific platforms. I have in the past defended the right to free speech, even if I don't like that speech, and my channel speaks for itself on that. I truly have defended that, even if I abhorrently disagree with what is being said. Because freedom of speech is very important, and attacking freedom of speech becomes a slippery slope. So I've never defended attacking free speech whatsoever. I do, however, support that when people are spreading propaganda, misinformation, lies, that has every right to be addressed and that the proper information be given, that propaganda is called out for what it is, that it is propaganda, and that when somebody wants to talk badly about, basically be a bigot, whether that be towards LGBTQIA plus people, whether that be towards people of color, whether that be towards women, I think it's appropriate to be able to call out what it is. It's homophobia or anti-gay transphobia, anti-trans misogyny, bigotry, and so forth. So, as you heard from that, though, why is this current administration taking down information that is related to former presidents, former administrations that go against the narrative that this particular administration would not want to adhere to. It's like, I know you disagree with it, but that doesn't mean that you should take it down. It doesn't mean that you should censor it. It doesn't mean that people shouldn't have the right to know or be able to read about it, especially for prosperity, for the prospect of history, of knowing that that's what these former presidential administrations have done. Why does it seem that anything that isn't pro-Trump is being attacked? Is that not censorship? Is that not abiding by the constitutional right to freedom of speech? Will that be rationalized the same way others have tried to rationalize attacking freedom of speech, and that this idea that freedom of speech doesn't apply to hate speech, I believe was what was said before. And then the cross argument to that, people would say, well, they were free speech absolutists. So now that the role is reversed, are they going to say, well, of course I believe in free speech, but you don't have the right to spread propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, lies, etc.? Is the argument going to be, but you can't basically you can't have a political biases? Is that going to be the argument? That if you have a political position other than Trump's, that it is incorrect, and that no, you don't have a right to say it? How will that be spun? It'd be interesting. And this isn't where it starts and begins, obviously. Otherwise, this would be a very short video. And for some reason, I have a very hard time making short videos, and I don't know why. So there was that. Yeah. He took down aspects from the government website referring to anything related to LGBTQIA+, DEI, environmental stuff. Whether he agrees with it or not is irrelevant. Why are you trying to brush things under the rug that you disagree with? That seems very authoritarian, very totalitarian, very much like that of a dictator. There's also this we should go over. All right, I think in the previous video I had gone over this as the Constitution was taken off of the government web pages for some strange reason. This was part of that. One of the web pages that got affected is reported by NBC News. All of the links will be provided in the description. Government web pages vanish under Trump from DEI to reproductive rights, because we don't want people to hear about DEI and reproductive rights. In the first few days of Donald Trump's second presidency, his administration has already overhauled the federal government's online footprint. The White House website no longer has Spanish version, as it has removed a disclaimer promising to make it accessible to people with disabilities. And a number of federal agencies have removed web pages related to reproductive rights and diversity. It's standard for a new president to make the White House website to reflect their administration's goals and values, and some of the missing pages appear to be temporary changes. Let's hope so, right? But other government websites, deletions with NBC News, verified with archived versions of the government websites, seem to reflect Trump's commitment to right-wing culture war issues in his second term. Not only the Spanish language version of the White House websites, La Casa Blanca, has been removed, but its 3 official social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and X all appear to be deleted. While a Spanish language version of the White House website dates back to at least to George W. Bush presidency, senior, I guess, 2 previous administrations, both Trump's first administration, Barack Obama's, took 2 months to relaunch. Neither the White House nor the Trump transition team responded to requests for comment, but one White House spokesperson told USA Today that the site, as well as a page for the Constitution that has been deleted, will be reinstated as federal web developers finish the site's redesign. The WhiteHouse.gov statement on accessibility, which was live on last day of President Biden's presidency, also appears to be missing. The page previously said that the site, in accordance with the international standards that make the websites accessible to people with disabilities, Justice Department guidelines state all government websites need to meet those standards to be compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that's fun. We're just going to ignore the Americans with Disabilities Act. Again, that just seems like all the stuff that he was talking about and the things that he says, the groups of people that he attacks. Very interesting. Those guidelines include providing alt text on images so that people with visual impairments who use automatic readers can understand images, offering audio descriptions for people with hearing disabilities, and making all websites operable by keyboard for users who cannot use a conventional mouse. The White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, active as of Sunday, is also gone. Again, you may not agree with this, but even if you don't agree with it, why is it gone? Why are we sweeping things under the carpet? Even for prosperity's sake, we shouldn't be doing that. Outside of the White House, some federal agencies in the executive branch have similarly removed web pages in what appear to be more deliberate actions reflecting Trump's priorities. The Health and Human Services website, delineating Americans' legal rights regarding reproductive health care, reproductiverights.gov, is offline. It was live as recently as last week. HHS did not respond to an email requesting comment. The Department of Labor appears to have deleted a website of resources for LGBTQIA+ workers that was live last month. It didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. At least 3 federal departments have deleted web pages for diversity, equity, and inclusion, a target for conservatives, and the Trump administration. An executive order Trump signed Monday calls for the Office of Personnel Management, which functions as the federal government's human resources department, to end all DEI programs. Can you imagine if a Democrat got into office and then deleted and took down everything from the government's website that has to do with any of the Republican Party's right-wing and conservative administration programs or things that they stand on? What kind of backlash, what kind of a public outroar that would create? There is definitely no doubt in my mind that if the rules were reversed here, this would possibly be met with violent protest. While OPM's general page explaining DEI as a priority is still functional, the landing page for the Chief Diversity Officer's Executive Council, which was live earlier this month, has been deleted. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture has similarly deleted a statement on its commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. The Defense Information Systems Agency has deleted a page that, as of last year, described its Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. None of these 3 agencies responded to a request for comment. And this, like when it comes to health and stuff, I'm about to get into that. It couldn't have come at a worse time. And we're going to get into that here in a second. That's the very next article. I'm not even going to go to the camera. I'm just going to switch right over to it. least one agency preemptively closed its DEI office before Trump even took office. The FBI closed its Office of Diversity and Inclusion in December after Trump's election, but before his executive order. An agency spokesperson told NBC News the spokesperson did not respond to a follow-up question asking why the agency made that choice. Donald Sherman, the executive director for the progressive government watch group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics, told NBC News that the deletions mirrored priorities laid forth in Project 2025, the far-right administration plan that Trump disavowed on the campaign, but his team has embraced since his victory. Which, in leftist spaces, this is something I don't think anyone in leftist spaces were fooled by. Project 2025 was very, very threatening. It was something to be taken seriously. A lot of people, the kind of knee-jerk response was, that won't happen here. That'll never happen here. They won't do that. Yada. Even though in that document that was produced by the Heritage Foundation outlines something that would be highly unconstitutional, and not only highly unconstitutional, something that the founding fathers, like the people who started this country, who created the Constitution, would not approve of, is consolidating all the power into the hands of the executive branch. I find it very, very interesting that people who defend the Constitution, people who put the founding fathers up on a pedestal and their dream, the things that they said, the things that they did as being highly, highly, highly important and efficient in running this country, that these things were very, very important to have a fair, balanced, equal three-branch of government, even though I think they kind of overlooked the judiciary branch with the Supreme Court, and which was something that they actually recognized, but they just didn't think that a group of judges could do anything profound enough to really exercise too much power. But it's supposed to be a system of checks and balances, so you don't have too much power concentrated in one branch of the government over another, so that they could keep checks and stuff to keep and prevent a sort of dictatorship or totalitarian, like monarchy, theocracy, etc., from taking over this country and let us continue to be ran by the people for the people, which, democracy or republic, whichever way you want to look at it, doesn't really matter to me. It's the idea that there is power in the people in deciding the political landscape structure, the social contracts, that kind of thing. Technically, how that's supposed to work is, let's say 98% of the people think that weed should be made legal and accessible. Well, then it doesn't really matter what the public servants, the people we elected in office, which are supposed to be public servants, doesn't matter how they feel about it. 98% of the population says legalize it, so fucking make it legal. That's a government by the people. It's supposed to be a bottom-up government instead of a top-down government that is, both are forms of hierarchy. However, the bottom-up one tries to ensure that the power is not in one person's hand. This very, very bizarre notion that human beings have ever had in our existence, that one single person would ever be smart enough, wise enough, and everything enough to know what is best for everybody in an entire society under the sun, is a really ridiculous notion. And that giving government as far as like the people the ability to voice how things should be done, how things should be ran, was a government that provided more freedoms as the people have a say in what goes. And so I don't know why anyone would defend consolidating. If you appreciate the founding fathers, if you appreciate the Constitution, if you appreciate free speech, why you would ever want to consolidate all the power of all three branches of government into the into the executive branch, to the president, which is the exact opposite, 100% opposite of what the founders wanted. So I don't know how they rationalize that, because the interesting thing, like I said, they would say, oh, that won't happen, that can't happen here, it won't happen here, checks and balances, la 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 la. And then when it starts to happen, it's like, well, but and there's various excuses depending on who you talk to, but that's what they are. They're excuses. If you defend such a thing, it's not the Constitution or the founding fathers that you have respect for and defend. It's something else. It's an agenda. It's an ideology. I don't expect a fascist or a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi to respect the Constitution or respect the ideas of the founding fathers or respect the ideas of the conservatives. When they talk about conservative, we're talking more like Christo-fascism, like of theocracy or monarchy, where we are ruled by the Orthodox Church. And I think they don't even like the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church has become more progressive than they like and want to go completely to the Orthodox Church. So you're talking about some pretty draconian laws, rules, regulations that anyone who's secularist out there and anyone who's what is that branch of Christianity called? The it's not coming to me, but whatever. There's like 50 billion. I mean, not every branch should be compatible with it. So the final thing in this is, I think it's a direct reflection of Project 2025. Sherman said, it's important to remember Project 2025 was done sort of piecemeal, and particularly every section it explicitly mentions undoing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and the basis for that is they people make excuses about it, but it's pretty clear that it's just they think that companies are hiring people solely based on the fact that they are part of a minority group, and that's not the case. They still want qualifications. Qualifications are still important. It's just, you can't pass up somebody who's more than qualified over somebody who's less qualified just because they're white. If a black person has more qualifications than a white person, you don't just hire the white person because they're white. You hire the black person because they're more qualified. And I don't know why that's a bad thing. I don't know why it's a bad thing that we give people who are minorities that in the past haven't. Like, if you go and look at the civil rights movement of LGBT people, that's what, back then, that's what it was, just LGBT. We didn't have LGBTQIA+, but, they probably were in there. The thing is like, there were no laws of anything protecting gay people from any kind of discrimination, and that you could be discriminated from opening up a bank account, a checking account, a savings account, getting an apartment, buying a house, having a job. And even to the point where you could try to report to the police that you were assaulted and they wouldn't do anything about it, which is kind of one of the, gay civil rights movement is one of the reasons we recognize sexual assault allegations made by men today is woke society up to the idea that yes, men can be sexually assaulted. They can. So I don't the only reason the only agenda behind this, I know they do a lot of mental gymnastics, but in reality it's all about we don't like people with disabilities, we don't like people of color, we don't like LGBTQIA plus people. We don't want that's what it is. It's bigotry dressed up in fancy clothes, just like Christian Dior. That's all it is. And despite all the rationales that I've heard, it just, none of it's convincing. It's not convincing at all. So then we have this, and this is really dangerous, and I'll get into why. And I think it's really important to talk about this right here. We need to make sure that everyone understands what Trump has done with this, with the pausing health researchers like on a federal level, complete blackout of communication amongst health officials, because there is something bad happening. And given the history of Trump and his followers who seem to follow him completely blindly, like just pure dogmaticism, is that I would have a prediction that they will try to turn it around and make it seem like it's some kind of conspiracy theory brought on by the Democrats or the far left or the Marxists or the communists and yada, 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 yada. And what's really bizarre about, especially with the far leftist remarks about the socialists, the Marxists, the communists, the reality is there's really not that many. The American Communist Party only consists of 140,000 members. They've lost a lot of LGBTQIA plus supporters because communists that like they support countries like Russia. They do not support LGBTQIA plus rights. They don't, and they venture more towards leftists like myself, like libertarians, socialists, and anarchists. Health researchers alarmed as Trump administration pauses travel communications. The halt has frozen research grants, meetings, and key health updates. Everything is basically in chaos, said one cancer researcher. This is so dangerous to do this with, to make it so that on a federal level, through health agencies and health researchers and medical colleges cannot talk to each other, exchange information, grant funding, talking about allocation of resources and what have you. Very, very, very dangerous. This should never have happened. But no meetings of cancer researchers to discuss issuing new federal grants, no new scientific reports on lessons from fighting avian flu, not even private briefings for congressional staffers who have questions about health agencies' operations. Health officials and experts said this week they are reeling after the new Trump administration on Tuesday abruptly halted external communication at the Department of Health and Human Services and its agencies, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, regardless of how you feel about the CDC. And I have a bone to pick with the CDC because of the opioid prescribing guidelines, but that was a particular CDC panel that was slanted against people who use opioids for pain management, because the entire council was basically nothing but a bunch of psychiatrists and psychologists that specialized in addiction therapy, So of course they hate anything that people get addicted to, because everyone they see is, well, they're being sought out, for addiction therapy. So I don't know why you would have people like that making decisions based on medical treatment for people, who have broken spines and massive nerve damage and other conditions that have nothing to do with a substance use disorder. Yeah, it's just this automatic assumption that, you take a benzodiazepine, it couldn't possibly be because it's actually effective at treating your GAPD or PTSD, and you just have a substance use disorder. That's kind of how they treat opioids, and they've attacked benzodiazepines and amphetamine-based medications. I disagree with the CDC on that, but not every single thing that they do. And they do help allocate resources to prevent pandemics and epidemics. I mean, they hold a lot of vaccines. I would not do this. This is a bad idea. And the National Institutes of Health, so NIH.gov, and further researches and studies that people can look up and read that are available, I guess not anymore. The pause extends through February 1st, which, as I'm recording that is today. According to a memo obtained by the Washington Post, the Trump administration also issued a second order indefinitely halting the travel of HHS personnel, according to a second memo obtained by the Post. And I think this is all to silence things because because the COVID thing happened under his first term, and probably blames COVID for a lot of his failures. And really, it's just him. The Trump administration Thursday defended the holds as a part of the presidential transition and said it had provided flexibility for urgent communications, but it hasn't. And indefinitely halting is not because your administration is switching. HHS has issued a pause on mass communications and public appearances that are not directly related to emergencies or critical to preserving health. Stephanie Spear, an HHS spokeswoman and longtime ally of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., President Donald Trump's pick to run HHS, said in a statement. And Robert F. Kennedy scares the hell out of me. Robert F. Kennedy will not help you get your medications back. Robert F. Kennedy hates anything that is medication. He hates pharmaceutical companies. He hates medications. This man is a new ager. Stand next to this crystal and breathe in some lavender oil and literally believes that all of your chronic illnesses and chronic pain conditions are because of your diet. Well, I'm pretty sure that your diet has nothing to do with whether or not you were hit by a motor vehicle, and that's why you're a chronic pain patient, because your spine is permanently ruined from that. I'm pretty sure my diet had nothing to do with my chronic pain condition, which was a result of overworking my body to the point of its destruction permanently. That results in permanent motor nerve damage and atrophy in my upper right extremity. So very, very scary person to think that, we could all be, instead of, chemo, we could all be mandatorily being presented federally. You have to go to acupuncture or massage therapy or yoga. That's the kind of person Robert F. Kennedy is. I have no idea why people who think, like anybody who believes in Western medicine and science, I have no idea why you would support this man. And he wants to get rid of fluoride in water, which I think is insane too. The fluoride in your water is people who've grown up with fluoride in the water, like myself. I don't have any cavities. That's a really good reason why that might be, is because I grew up with fluoride in my water. There's debunking videos out there on that. I will leave a debunking video of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the comments, or not in the comments, but in the description. I mean, hell, I might as well put it in the comments and pin it because I don't think people actually look at the description. But anyway, President Donald Trump's picture on HHS said in a statement, "This is a sort of pause to allow the new team to set up a process for review and prioritization." Oh, except, for the indefinitely halting the travel of HHS personnel. That's a pause to allow the setup of and priority. Okay, cool. There are expectations for announcements that HHS divisions believe are mission critical, but they will be made on a case-by-case basis. So you have an emergency, you have to get in line and file your case till they review it. And if they see that it is an emergency, hopefully by then it's not too late. Some health officials told the Post they had been approved to post data updates considered mission critical, such as case counts of bird flu, which they suspected this would be on the rise with a lot of the deregulations on our food, which are dangerous. But, fuck that, because people on a farm do it and so forth, that we could do it on a mass production scale and everything will be fine. Even though it's extremely dangerous. And if you want to talk about like food poisonings that kill people and land people in the hospital with underlying health conditions, the things that this man right here actually do that better than the things that he is purporting to be damaging to our health. The decisions to pause communications to travel, which are not publicly announced, and which extend to reporters' inquiries with HHS media officers not responding to requests for comment for 2 days, trickled out as agency staff members and healthcare workers across the country have tried to make sense of suddenly canceling briefings, updates, and events. In interviews, healthcare professional described panicked efforts to learn if their programs have been affected, with some speaking on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak to the news media or feared retribution from the new administration. Victoria Seedwalt, chair of population sciences at City of Hope Comprehensive Cancer Center, was scheduled to lead an NIH study. Okay, this NIH.gov is where a lot of people go for peer-reviewed scientific studies all the time. The fact that this is not accessible and not updating is not good. I mean, some of the information about my condition that I have, NTOS, which is extremely rare, I've had to pull up from the NIH.gov because it's so rare. There are many doctors that barely even know about it. It's fantastic. NIH study section Thursday that was abruptly canceled without guidance on when it would be rescheduled. The session was scheduled to review grants focused on cancers and other chronic illnesses. Seedwalt has spent 2 decades serving on study sections which review research proposals and rate them based on their scientific merit. She said there is no precedent for this pause. Quote, "Everything is basically in chaos and frankly, everyone is terrified. We've never seen anything like this. This is like a meteor just crashed into all of our cancer centers and research areas." Great censorship. Let's keep health professionals from communicating to each other. So we don't have, we can just ignore, epidemic medical concerns or even locally ones, contaminated beef got into the circulation. Oh, well, fuck it. You can't talk. The CDC canceled a monthly call scheduled for this coming Monday with the entire clinical laboratory community, lab leaders, pathologists, and laboratory scientists across the country, including at large health systems and hospitals that had been intended to share updates about emerging threats and testing changes. You know what else that bothers me too about the RFK, just going back to that for a second, RFK Jr. People are more trusting of somebody who has no medical degree whatsoever and medical science at all over people with many, many, many years, if not decades of experience and doctorate degrees in medical science. I find that very bizarre. I also think it's very disturbing that we're pulled out of the World Health Organization. If you're a chronic pain patient and you're pissed off like I am at the opioid prescribing guidelines, I'll have you know that the World Health Organization actually considers it specifically, it labels out, acute pain, chronic pain, end of life care, but it specifically says about chronic pain that access to time release morphine and codeine is not just a right, it's a basic human right to have access to opioids to manage your pain. That's what the World Health Organization says. So I'm not too happy about that we pulled out of there, because the World Health Organization could have actually sat down with the CDC and said no. But no, fuck that. No, fuck communication. Fuck your free speech. Fuck all that. It is hard to imagine a worse time to prohibit federal officials from communicating directly with the clinical laboratory community and the public health workforce, one laboratory leader said, noting that the slew of winter viruses and increasing risk of avian flu. Viruses don't care who the CDC director or HHS secretary is, or what spin newly appointed political leadership want to put on their agency's efforts, and how true that is. And the other weird thing about suppressing communication between health officials at a federal level is, like, there's this aspect that is trying to suppress the rise of bird flu and other viruses. But I cannot imagine. But I just can't imagine going into the doctor when you have a bird flu or something like that, and they just do, because the flu tests are not distributed the way that they're supposed to, and they don't have the resources to do it. So even if you have the avian flu, now they can only test you for the regular flu, and it comes back negative, and they just look at you and go, well, we don't know. We'd like to test you for avian flu, but test equipment isn't there because Trump shut down communication on a federal level with health officials. So your local hospitals, doctors' offices, and whatnot don't have the right things, the right resources to test for these kinds of things. And that's why I think this is really important to talk about this, is so nobody gets the chance to spin this. Nobody gets to say, oh, Biden did it. Oh, Antifa did it. Oh, the Democrats did it. Oh, the far left did it. Oh, China did it. Oh, this, that. No, Trump did this, and it's going to have ramifications. And one of them is already springing up, and it can't get under control because of this. I haven't covered it yet. I'm waiting. It's called making a video. You have to keep people on their toes, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I should be called a video essayist. I don't know. But I agree with this statement very, very much, and this couldn't be more true. Viruses don't care. Nature doesn't care. Natural catastrophes don't care. You can ignore a viral outbreak all you want. It doesn't make it go away. Some former Trump officials have defended the halt as the necessary work of a presidential transition. And, there's a lot of people that understand this. During presidential transitions, things change, but they usually don't result in a shutdown lasting. What did this say again? Indefinitely. Usually not that. And they're usually not this invasive, is the point. They don't turn up like this. Pausing communications is quote unquote extremely appropriate. David Mansdorfer, very German sounding, who served as a senior health official at the first Trump administration, wrote in a message. Quote, the Biden administration was trying to spend every dollar and push every policy it possibly could up until noon on Monday. A 2-week hiatus for review and reflection will allow the incoming team to reset expectations and potentially reverse anything that was done during the days leading up to the transition, which is typical during presidential transitions, but not a complete shutdown or an indefinite shutdowns. Health workers and researchers said they were prepared for some review, but described moments of disorganization as the Trump administration's directive took effect. Christopher Fox, the CEO of the International Association for Dental, Oral, and Craniofascial Research, said he logged on to a long-scheduled meeting of dental researchers hosted by the NIH on Wednesday morning, only to hear from a federal official that communications had been paused and to stand by. More than 40 minutes later, he said another NIH official joined the broadcast and said the session was postponed. He learned later that a second session at which researchers would make decisions on awarding NIH grants had also been postponed. It's literally shutting down, quote, it's literally shutting down the research pipeline in our country. Fox said in an interview Thursday, calling the news devastating and noting that dental researchers had spent months preparing for the meeting. Hopefully, it will be temporary. The NIH is the largest public funder of biomedical research in the world, awarding about $35 billion in fiscal year 2023 to support scientific research. And this shows NIH funding by state. Kansas total funding, $140.7 million. California's $5.2 billion. Washington, $1.38 billion. Kentucky, we have here Kentucky, $2.0 billion. Missouri. Missouri actually, $901.6 million. Texas, $1.9 billion. So you don't get that. Louisiana is going to be missing $211.3 million. Arkansas missing $108.9 million. Mississippi, $65 million. Alabama, $380.3 million. Georgia, $782.9 million. Florida will be missing $869.3 million. Fantastic. What was Kansas again? $140.7 million. Other delays seen across federal websites and publications. The CDC's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, which provides clinical updates to healthcare professionals and had published at its regular cadence after Trump's first inauguration, did not appear at its regular time Thursday. This week's edition was set to include updates on avian flu. The list of postponed meetings has continued to grow, such as planned meeting next week of the President's Council on how to fight antibiotic resistance bacteria, which is really important for the thing that I'm keeping until later, and why that's really bad. Federal researchers contacted by the Post on Thursday said they were still seeking answers, but whether there were workshops and discussions with the external experts could proceed. Outside organizations said that they were affected by the pause too. A summit of health information technology leaders scheduled for next week was postponed because, quote, nearly all of our speakers have informed us that they will be unable to participate. The organization AFCEA Bethesda wrote in a message obtained by the Post. William Schaffner, a professor of preventative medicine and infectious diseases at Vanderbilt University School of Medicine, said he was worried about the ramifications in the U.S. scientific community. This really good worry. A pretty rational thing to worry about, actually. But also abroad, as researchers in other countries await U.S. decisions on grants and other updates. This will slow the development of scientific research, Schaffner said. The move caught some Trump officials by surprise, according to two people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal operations. One person taped for a senior HHS role in the new administration said they were not briefed on the extent of the pause and they would not have supported some aspects of it. See, you have people that work even within Trump's inner circle that are opposed to this. And what I don't understand is why the civilians that follow him just keep rationalizing this stuff as though this is fine, and it's not fine. There are people that are in his inner circle that go yay rah rah rah, Trump is bestest, and then he does something like this, and they're like, whoa, no, this is not fine. So if they can do it, I don't understand what is so hard about denouncing the things that the Trump administration does that are just fucked up. I don't know why that's so difficult to do. I don't know why it's difficult for someone to say, I voted for Trump, but I disagree with what he's by attacking, minority groups. Attacking minority groups is not going to do anything for inflation. It's not going to do anything. Attacking trans people is not going to lower inflation costs. Attacking gay rights is not going to lower inflation costs. Renaming the Gulf of Mexico is not going to lower inflation costs. Keeping people from talking is not going to lower inflation costs. That's you're just taking the people who are talking about what is causing the inflation and putting them, under the rug and acting like if we just pretend like they don't exist, it'll go away. And that's not how it works. So I don't know why it's so hard for people to say, I voted for Trump, but I do not agree with these things with X, Y, and Z that he's doing. I denounce that. I don't know why that's so difficult to do. I don't know what's up with all the excuses. What's up with all the rationalizations? And you keep saying, "Oh, this won't happen. That won't happen. This won't happen. That won't happen." So what happens if the worst does happen? What if he does run a third term, a fourth term, a fifth term, and then we just turn into Russia? Like, is that okay? Is that acceptable? And why not just say it? Is it because if you say that out loud, it's not going to be widely supported? Is that why you don't say it out loud? And by the time we get there, it won't matter if you denounce it because it'll be too late. You won't be able to do anything about it. So I don't know what we're waiting for. Denounce it now before you can't. Freezes and pauses in general are pretty common in transitions, particularly on communications, just as the new administration is getting their ducks in a row in messaging and putting people in place. I don't know how to pronounce this name, said, adding that the length of the pause would affect how disruptive it would be. For now, it's too soon to tell. We just have to wait and see. Many staff members said they first learned of the policy in a briefing with Spear on Tuesday morning. The policy was further detailed in a Tuesday memo by Dorothy Fink, the HHS acting secretary. And she said, refrain from publicly issuing any documents, e.g. regulation, guidance, notice, grant announcements, or communication, e.g. social media, website, press releases, and communication using listservs. So yeah, suppression of speech. Don't talk. Shut your fucking mouth. Don't talk about health issues that could impact thousands, if not millions, if not billions of Americans. Fuck you. Don't talk until it has been reviewed and approved by a presidential appointee, Fink wrote. So somebody that has no medical experience whatsoever or very faint medical experience, somebody with a PhD in psychology. We're going to wait to hear from them on what we think about viruses and bacterias and outbreaks in different areas that need allocated resource to combat those before they become an entire issue for the entire United States, possibly even the globe. Fink's memo instructs staff members who believe they have information that should not be subjected to the pause, such as matters of critical health, to submit requests that would allow for expedited release. So get in line and we'll review your case. Hopefully it doesn't take too long and it's not too late by the time it does, just like it would be too late to, denounce some of these things if we end up like Russia, with basically Putin 2.0. It'll be too late by then. The damage will have been done and we will have lost this country. With the whole saying that was I have his name in mind. It's not Benjamin Franklin said, you have a democracy if you can keep it. I guess we're not going to keep it by the very people that praise his words. The first Trump administration in 2017 also immediately paused some communications at federal agencies. Federal officials who spoke to the Post this week said they understood why some additional review might accompany a presidential transition, but that they are rattled by the scope of the pause and the ramifications, particularly after Trump campaigned on pledges to weaken the civil service. The decision halt communications have alarmed some career civil servants who remembered how political appointees in the first Trump administration pursued healthcare personnel to align with Trump's own messages about the coronavirus. Let's shed some light on this situation. So, do you think that this free speech thing that I'm talking about, like, I mean, I can hear people saying, like, oh, this is all like government web pages and transfer of administrations and stuff. Well, it doesn't just affect that. Like, here is a clip from that was covered from the Humanist Report right here. A situation that took place in Wisconsin, which I know somebody who lives in Wisconsin. They verified this is real. This actually happened. So if you want to look at the rest of that video, the link will be in the description. And the thing is that this is already starting to affect a lot of content creators. There's a lot of leftist content creators, and there's another clip from that video that kind of shows that here. So across social media platforms, you know, it doesn't matter which one, even content creators that make videos about cooking or cats or other things, if they have liked a video that is made by a leftist content creator or subscribed to a leftist content creator, and they themselves are a content creator, but they don't cover anything political or philosophical, anything like that, anything about economics. They're just making videos about their cats or how to cook food or stuff like that, maybe even makeup tutorials. And they are having videos mass demonetized and videos taken down for reportedly violating the terms of service agreement on a cat video, stating things like their video promotes violence. That's an interesting stretch of the imagination when you make videos about makeup tutorials or your cats or animals or cooking and teaching people, showing people how to cook, and your video, you're not only experiencing mass demonetization, but you're having videos pulled down for promoting violence because you liked, followed, subscribed, or watched a leftist content creator. Leftist content creators themselves are experiencing some weird issues with view counts going down on videos that were released a long time ago. How does that happen? Likes disappearing, subscribers being unsubscribed from their channel. Sounds familiar. I've seen that before. But that's happening across social media platforms. It's happening on YouTube. It's happening on X. It's happening on Facebook. It's happening on TikTok. It's happening on all of them. Oh, and by the way, if you're on Facebook, you might want to block. Yeah, so if you're on Facebook, don't forget to block the official Donald Trump page, because people on Facebook are automatically being subscribed to it. And the same kind of thing is happening on X, of course. You're automatically made to follow Trump's stuff. You're made to automatically follow Elon Musk, which is, I don't even go on X, Twitter anymore, because it's turning into a living digital tabloid. It's unbearable, and half the things that are showing up in my feed are things that are people I don't subscribe to, people I don't want anything to do with. I don't want to hear the crap. It's just conspiracy theories, bigotry, and bullshit. That's literally all it is, and it's just unbearable. It's hard to even take it seriously anymore. Half the stuff you run into, you have to, more than half, 99% of the stuff you run into on there anymore, you have to sit there and question, like, is this even real? Did it even come from, like, let's say it comes from a person I do that I know is a trusted source. It's gotten to the point where it's like, you don't even know if that's a fake account pretending to be them anymore. So it's just not even worth going on. And then showed those 2 clips. Yeah. I'd recommend going and watching that video so you get an idea of just how intense it is. And not only that, there's also this, which was reported by CNN, and this video comes from Meidas Touch, and I will have the link to the Meidas Touch video. You can go watch that. There's CNN anchor who is leaving CNN because he refuses to start reporting fake media based on what the Trump administration wants him to report on, rather than the actual facts and the truth. So here's that clip. And there's also news reports about the Trump administration going after the mainstream legacy media, NBC and CNN, threatening legal action, which is interesting because this is not based on libel. It's not based on slander. It's based on, well, because they fact check Trump more than they fact check Kamala Harris. And that's because Trump says more things that are just not factually true than Kamala Harris. That's just reality. And again, you hear people try to rationalize. No, it's true. Leftist lies. It's like Kamala Harris is not even like this far leftist. She's a neoliberal, like, capitalist type person. It's not like she's sitting there advocating for some kind of radical socialism. Like Kamala Harris is not going to deliver us health care for everybody, like they do in every other Western nation. It's not like she's going to announce rent control and try to get housing for everybody, or affordable housing. She can do what every neoliberal does, and I think the plan was to and I mean, it'll work, but and it tries to make sure not to step on the toes across the aisle kind of thing. But it's this idea that to kind of hold the economy where it is, stagnate the inflation, and try to put policies through that cause people's wages to rise to catch up with the inflation so that 60% of your paycheck is not going towards rent alone. That was the overall goal of Kamala and Biden, I believe. So we're talking about we're like drastic changes. Like we're going to put price control on food. We're going to put price control on rent. And it wouldn't be anything that radical. So I love this narrative that it's this radical left, and it's not. It's not even moderately left at all. It's doing what a sort of moderate candidate would do. I mean, so I don't understand that. But, again, more justification, rationalizations, mental gymnastics, anything they've got to do to defend the position of Trump, whether it makes sense or not, even though, like, some of the stuff that he says a child could tell you is bullshit, is being criticized, threatened with legal action. And legal action is very, very real, considering, you look at Tennessee, they passed some legislation over there where if anyone voted against a Trump administration proposed bill, then they would be charged with a Class 5 felony. So basically, if you don't vote in the Tennessee House, if you don't vote for what the Republicans want, you will be arrested and you will spend, I believe it's 5 years in prison because you voted the way your constituents wanted you to. You voted the way that you felt in your heart of heart and mind of minds you should vote. And if you don't vote that way, you will go to prison. How's that for free speech? Absolutism. That's the exact opposite of it. That's don't talk unless you absolutely agree with us. And if you don't agree with us, we're going to do something about it. There's other places like that, I think it's kind of like that in Russia, China, and North Korea, right? Is that the goal of these people? Is that what you, again, I suppose if you came out and said that's the goal that you wanted to achieve, that's not as palatable as going around and just trying to make crap up to defend all this stuff that really shouldn't be defended and should be denounced. And I don't understand why that's hard. It really isn't hard. It's wild, it's like half the country does want to live under a dictatorship. I don't understand. Let's see, was there anything else? Oh, right. There is one more thing that I want to show you. I'm finally going to get to it right now. Are you ready? Go. Here it is. And as you can see on my screen here, an article from Reuters, there is a major tuberculosis outbreak that hits Kansas City area. 67 active tuberculosis cases reported in the Kansas City area. 384 people managed for tuberculosis testing and treatment. CDC assists with contact tracing and health education as of January 29th. So remember all the stuff that we were talking about the massive blackout of on the federal level of the health communications. Well, if this right here, which this is dangerous, to my understanding, this is I thought it was a bacteria infection. Yeah, it is. It's a bacteria infection. It takes massive antibiotic treatment, not normal antibiotic treatment. We're talking about very strong antibiotics for multiple months to treat this. As of January 4th, 67 active cases of tuberculosis or TB have been reported in the Wyandotte and Johnson County areas in Kansas. And see, right now, they need to be able to communicate with federal health agencies in order to get resources, which would be the antibiotics that would be needed to treat all these cases before it runs rampant across the city. And after it runs rampant across the city, it could run rampant across the entire United States. And this is one hell of a disease to try and treat. Like I said, this is not a normal bacteria infection. It takes very, very strong antibiotics, and you need antibiotic treatment for several months. In the healthcare industry, you have to get regularly tested for tuberculosis. If you test positive for this, they will not let you anywhere near a patient. They take this very, very seriously. This is very, very serious. We've dealt with tuberculosis outbreaks before. In the past, it's killed off massive populations of people. And if Reuters isn't good enough for you, then here, how about this? The Kansas Department of Health and Environment. Current tuberculosis outbreak in Kansas City, Kansas metro area. So, if this spreads because the Trump administration wanted to shut down communication of health officials, no, the Democrats didn't do it. No, it's not a Democrat-ran conspiracy. It's not some conspiracy to, fuck him over. If this spreads out of control, it's because Trump fucked himself by trying to shut down aspects of the government to deal with issues like this. And this started before the mild amounts of cases started as of January 2024. And now as of January 30th, 2025, there are 67 confirmed cases, possibly even more. So if this spreads across the United States, it is due to the inaction of Trump keeping health organizations on the federal level from communicating and doing what they need to do and allocating resources to make sure a bacteria, this is a bacteria, it is not a virus. My understanding, some people say there is some kind of vaccine for it. I've never heard of a vaccine for a bacteria before. My understanding, that's not how bacteria work. You can get reinfected with a bacteria over and over and over again. This bacteria can even stay in your system for a very, very long time before it kills you. Typically, how it kills you is you drowned in your own blood. So just for prosperity's sake, because if this does get out of hand, I know that I'm pretty confident. I don't know, but I'm pretty confident. I would not be shocked if all these little MAGA followers, these people that for some reason would follow Trump into the arms of Satan himself, if you are religious, into the very pits of hell, off the side of a cliff, whatever. They follow him religiously. He can do no wrong. He can say no wrong. There is nothing he can do to get these people off of him. They are always supporting him. It would not shock me one bit if he tried to make it out like this was the fault of the Democrats or some kind of conspiracy to usurp him or something like that, or to make his term look like crap. And the reality is right now we're sitting here, Kansas City is sitting here with this issue, and there's no communication with the CDC, the NIH.gov, and all of these federal health administrations and officials to coordinate efforts to get it under control. So no, if it spreads across the United States, that's all on Trump. Because for some reason, he thinks medical intervention in things like this are unnecessary or a waste of money or something or something or something. And that's the price that this is going to come at a cost of, is possibly a lot of lives. No, you're not. So just let it be known now. If you're a Trump supporter and that happens, I've said it right here, nipped it right here in the butt. Trying to say that it's some kind of Democratic conspiracy or left-wing conspiracy to undermine Trump or something like that. No. I've already demonstrated Trump already shut down communications, all communications federally for these health organizations, where Kansas would reach out to the federal health organizations to facilitate the need for resources, which the resources in this particular case are very strong antibiotics that they can't get. And also, by the way, if you don't know about Kansas, Kansas is a pretty red state. So if that happens, no, that's not going to fly with me. You're not going to be able to go, oh, but it was the Democrats, but it was no. It was Trump. Okay. Trump made bad decisions that put people like that deregulated trains that made them crash, and then he blames it on DEI. Now they're attacking. We're not doing that. No. This is because of Trump. I'm documenting it now just in case. Hopefully it won't happen. You don't want this to happen. It's bad. Really bad. So, yeah. And I would like to say to people that regardless of the attacks, we need to not shut up. It doesn't matter if your channel gets demonetized. Keep speaking. It doesn't matter if they try to take videos down. Keep speaking. We cannot allow someone... We shouldn't be rolling over and letting what could possibly be tyranny, the actual face of tyranny, walk on our backs, just walk over us. And for the Republicans out there, the right-wing people who don't want to live under a dictatorship, you better stop doing this making excuses stuff and doing mental gymnastics and all the things that you've been doing, making excuse after excuse after excuse, and start calling it out for what it is. On all this stuff, you might want to start asking yourself, if the role was reversed and a Democrat was doing something similar towards right-wing policies, how would I defend it? Probably not. This is dangerous. So I think the important part is to not give up hope, not succumb to defeat. Keep trying to educate people, keep people informed. And just like I did here, I want this to be known because, like I said, after Trump shuts down the federal health agencies, they can't communicate with each other, they can't coordinate resources. If it does get out of hand, which we hope it doesn't, then people need to know and not be able to go and make excuses later that somebody somewhere out there, somebody said, no, the health communications are shut down. They can't coordinate resources. Trump shut them down. Democrats have nothing to do with this. And Kansas is a red state. So, this is very serious. Don't silence people's speech just because the audacity to think that trying to keep a disease like this under control is some kind of radical leftist agenda. No, it's just what societies do to keep people safe. Especially with population sizes that we have today, they're huge, and so transmission rates are much higher. Don't stop talking. Don't. People need to be educated. I think a lot of people don't know stuff like this that's being talked about, and I'm tired of the excuses and the rationalization. There is no rationalization to be cutting off communication on a federal level with health officials, and filling out a report to say, oh, this is an emergency, and wait and see if you can apply for it before. No, that's not acceptable. You don't do things like that. This is a disaster. This here, what I'm looking, this screen is a disaster waiting to happen. So hopefully it doesn't. Really seriously, hopefully it doesn't. Tuberculosis is a very serious bacteria infection. It's horrible. You don't want it. All right. And I do think leftist content creators, they do a really good job at making leftist content for leftists by leftists. But I think there's a lot of information that's being held on to that's not being communicated to people that really need it. Because you look at the Trump administration, it's a three-ring circus. It's bizarre that anyone looks at that and thinks that that is the sign of a functional government. It's not. So Like, share, subscribe, and comment and all that stuff. And like I said, I'll have all the links in the description. I'll put the link to the debunking video of RFK Jr. that shows RFK Jr. as nothing more than some New Ager Healy guy. I'll pin that in the comments. So, with that, like, share, subscribe, comment, and all that stuff. Out. I guess I should call myself a video essayist. I guess I should call myself a video essayist. I guess I should call myself a video essayist.